the meeting to order. Good evening. I'm Paul Kunkemuller. I'm Chair of the City of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm going to call our meeting for Tuesday, January 16th, 2026 to order at 6:32 p.m. First item on our agenda is to call the roll. So I am here. Is Ms. Bergeron here?
Here.
All right. Stu is here. And Mr. Boris is here, correct?
Yep, here.
I think I see Mr. Rusk is here, correct?
Yep.
All right. This is Lottrip is here on Zoom by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Mrs. Lowe, correct?
Here.
All right. And how about Andrea Edelman?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Very good. So first, next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. And we've got the minutes from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from May 19th. And we also need to amend the agenda to add the minutes from the Connecticut Main Street presentation that occurred on January 3rd, 2026, because we had a quorum of the Planning and Zoning Commission attended that meeting, correct?
I move that we amend the agenda to add approval of minutes from the June 3rd meeting. Second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Rusk and the second by, was that Mr. Boris? All right. We've got a motion to, I'm sorry?
And Andrea just showed up.
There he is, just arrived. Excellent. Good. All right. So we've got we've got a motion to has been made and seconded to amend the agenda to add the minutes of the Connecticut Main Street presentation from June 3rd, 2026. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion passes 7-0-0. Okay, so then we'll go back to the Planning and Zoning meeting minutes from May 19th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
Who made the motion?
Susan did. Susan did.
Susan. By Susan Bergeron. And was there a second?
I second. A second.
Yeah, very seconded.
Second from Mary Lowe. All right. Anybody have any changes or issues with the minutes?
Did you say the possibility or did you say you were extended?
So my contract has actually been extended to December of this year. So in the minutes, yes, possibility, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So, any further comments or questions or changes on the minutes?
Only that I took the note that you would not be in attendance at this meeting. And you certainly are.
Well, but that was accurate at the time.
Okay.
I didn't know if I would be able to attend, but here I
Got
am.
it.
But the minutes are accurate because that is what I said at the time. So, any other questions, comments, changes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 19th, 2026 meeting, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
All right, one abstention. Lena abstains, so the minutes are approved.
I should abstain too.
0-1. Correct?
Just 1 second for Andrea's sake. She had a question about whether to abstain. You don't necessarily have to be in attendance of the meeting to vote to approve the minutes for the meeting if you've had a chance to look them over. So, if you looked at the minutes, you don't have any questions about it, you can vote to approve them even if you weren't present. But Colleen wasn't there, so she's choosing to abstain, which is no problem either.
So we still have six votes to approve, or is there another abstention?
Which way would you like
I
to
couldn't
go?
hear what he said.
Would you like to vote or abstain?
Oh, I mean, I only came halfway through and it was my first meeting, so that's why I was being prudent and saying abstain, because I was like not really here. I wasn't even.
Yep. So why don't we say 5, 0, and 2 with the 2 abstentions?
That sounds reasonable. 502. All right. Then the next thing would be to approve the Connecticut Main Streets presentation from January 3rd, 2026 minutes. Motion to approve those.
I have a change because I was in attendance.
Yeah, I only realized at the very end when we broke up that that Andrea had slipped in there at some point, so I didn't record when you were there. And you were.
Yeah, it's just there were no seats, so I sat in the
Okay, somehow you were eclipsed by somebody that was in my line of sight, and I didn't know until we got up to leave. Okay, so the addition there would be that the correction would be that for commissioners present, we would also include Andrea Eddles.
Okay. So let's get a motion on the table. The motion to approve, and then we can go and take care of any changes or comments. Okay. If we have a motion to approve,
So moved.
that was that Mary?
That was Mary. So moved.
Okay. Motion to approve by Mary and Mary Lowe, and is there a second?
Second.
Second
By
from
Susan.
Susan.
Susan said second.
All right, second by Steve Bergeron. All right. So now in terms of changes, we need to add, one change would be to add Andrea Edelman to the attendees list, correct?
Yeah.
Commissioner President, any other changes or comments? All right, hearing none. So,
Sorry, hold on. The only other change would be if Andrea voted in the affirmative to adjourn, then the motion would be 5 to 0 to adjourn.
Right now, we just got started.
So did you vote in favor of adjourning? That was Andrea, correct?
And yes, when we went to adjourn that meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was like.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
all right.
there is accurate.
So that changes the adjourn, the vote to adjourn. Okay. Anything else? All right. So Mary and Sue, are you okay with approving the motions as amended?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, all right. If you're willing to change your motion to that, then I'll ask for a vote. All those are in favor of approving the minutes from the Connecticut Main Streets presentation on June 3rd, 2026 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, so Bob, you abstained, not there? All right,
Correct.
so we're approved, is it 5601?
I think we
right,
get 601 on that one.
okay, 601. All right, thank you. Next item is the staff report.
So, first item on the staff report, we have an 8-24 girl tonight. So at the two most recent, real estate committee meetings, Mayor Ross provided an overview of 5 vacant parcels that are jointly owned by the city and the town. 4 lots that are located on Central Boulevard, 0 Central Boulevard, and 0 Island Avenue. I will slide on GIS map. And then the purpose of the recent real estate committee meetings were to discuss whether the city should pursue the sale of these properties and return them to productive use and place them back on the tax roll. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-24, the proposal will then be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review and recommendation, which is why we're here tonight. Following commission action, approval will be required from both the city council and town council because the town also owns lot 2. Under the existing ownership agreement, the city would receive 15% of the sale proceeds and the town of Groton would receive 85%. If approved for sale, the properties will be publicly advertised and offered through a bidding process with the potential for award to the highest qualified bidder. The real estate committee members discussed the condition and maintenance of properties. The building and zoning official and I provided mapping, environmental information, including the location of the surrounding wetlands to assist in evaluating the parcels. We know that if anything were to be built on these properties, it would most likely, depending on the project, need Conservation Commission review and CAN review from us. Following discussion, the real estate committee voted unanimously to deem the properties excess properties and to support moving forward with the process of selling these properties. So we're here because your review and endorsement of the proposed transfer under 8-24 is the current step in the process and is the reason why it is on the agenda this evening. Second, this is regarding the conservation and traffic mitigation districts I talked about last meeting. I have compiled examples of these districts that are currently adopted or under consideration within the southeastern Connecticut region. I worked in coordination with the GIS manager at CCOG, and we basically used the same method that it took to develop the sample map for other towns. So we combined a few zoning districts, So really what we're trying to do is just seeing how many districts that we could get that's under 8% of the land, just so that we know what the math looks like going forward. So we combined the waterfront business residential, the general commercial, and the 5 corner area to evaluate how an overlay district could be established while remaining within statutory limitation of that no more than 8% of the municipal land area would be designated for such districts. So this whole sample is just intended solely as a planning tool. It doesn't represent my recommendation or anyone's recommendation to adopt an overlay district at this time. The areas that we highlighted could be changed. It could be part of a district. It's really up to you guys. I just provide this map as a sample. And this is just for future consideration. And then I have also drafted the following definition. I included it in section 2 for a conservation traffic mitigation district. It says an overlay district established for the commission may require minimum off-street parking for residential unit developments with less than or equal to 16 units, subject to the minimum parking requirements established by Public Act 25-1 or a parking needs assessment, whichever results in the least required number of off-street parking spaces. So it's a parking needs assessment, we'll need to take the parking needs assessment if it suggests lower amounts of parking spaces than the state statute. And then should the commission decide to adopt a CTMD overlay zone, no more than, which is, for that, no more than 8% of the city land shall be designated as CTMD. There shall be no more than 2 CTMD districts in the city. If 2 CTMD districts are established, no more than 4% of city land shall be designated for each district. So that's where that comes from. And then number 3, we have short-term rentals. So commission member Sadelman has compiled information regarding short-term rental regulations and zoning approaches. utilized by other municipalities. I definitely appreciate your effort in getting these resources together. And she has expressed interest in exploring potential zoning regulations that govern short-term rental uses in the city. Discussion may include operational standards, permitting requirements, occupancy limitations, enforcement mechanisms, and all other regulatory measures that we could use to perhaps enforce these short-term rentals going forward. And these would be intended to mitigate the potential impacts on surrounding neighborhoods while providing clear guidance for property owners and operators. And so the materials provided are intended to serve as a starting point for discussion that regards the development of a comprehensive short-term regulatory framework. And then last but not least, we have the WBR. We have Leslie's markup available for when we review section 4. So I've attached her markups that she proposed last year. And so this is just something to consider as we review section 4. The only thing I would have to say about those is that she did suggest like how it was with the general commercial zones, like tearing it up and doing different regulations for each section, like north, south, and middle. So I would say if we were to consider any changes like that, because it does involve a map amendment change, that we should hold off on that till when we decide to do all the map amendment changes. So that concludes my staff report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
I have a couple of questions. On the first matter, the real estate. I took a look at Google Maps and I couldn't really identify where those properties are. Is there a way that you can pull up any sort of a map so we can see where they are?
Yeah, so when we get to that part, I'll pull up the GIS map and we can go over it. So.
And I have a question on the short-term rental. Shall I just bring it up when we get to that part?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, short-term rentals aren't on the agenda for tonight, right? So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking that we could like use that as like from the resources that we gave you, you guys could take that home and just look at them, and then maybe we could revisit this in future meetings, or we could, if somebody wants to shout a regulation out now that we could amend, then like in section 3, then that's also something we could do too. But yeah, this is just for.
I just to clarify, I just compiled the data because when I attended the last meeting and I discovered that because of the housing affordability effort that every town around us, or the whole state, was revamping all of their planning and zoning regulations, it made me think that if we were going to do anything, now's the time to discuss it and include it as part of the whole affordable housing initiative. And so that's why I compiled all the data, just so we could think about whether that's part of it or not part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for doing all that legwork. I guess I have one question about the short-term rental thing, and that at one time there was a mayor and council, and this was the prior mayor and prior council, were discussing whether they wanted to handle this through ordinance or zoning regulation, and I don't know that we ever got a decision on that.
So I'll just tell you one thing I learned when I was compiling all this information is different towns have taken different approaches for 2 different reasons. Some towns have adopted ordinances. A lot of other towns have adopted only regulations. And it's debatable whether the regulations are retroactive, because many towns have taken the position that if the planning and zoning regulations don't expressly permit short-term rentals, that they are by definition prohibited. They're not a permitted use. And therefore, because of their short-term nature, that they kind of act like an ordinance. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? That it's not expressly permitted in the regulations. Therefore, they take the view that it's not a permitted use, and you would actually have to come in, even if you were already doing it. It's not grandfathered in. You would have to come in and get a permit or sign up for whatever you might have to sign up for.
And that's if it were ordinance.
No, if
If
it's
it
even if it's a regulation. Some towns have adopted regulations, not ordinances, and have taken the position that there's no grandfathering because even though it's just a regulation, that if their regulations didn't expressly permit it, then it's automatically thought of as being a prohibited activity because it's not expressly permitted.
If memory serves, the last time we brought up the concept in this room with the prior city planner, we were waved off from discussing it by Leslie because her perception was that there's ongoing litigation at the state level with certain municipalities over this topic.
There was litigation in Branford.
Okay, I didn't recall which.
Yeah, there was litigation in Branford with the beach association.
Okay,
The homeowner won. Subsequent to that, Branford did pass new regulations. So that happened after the court case, which was in I think it went to the Supreme Court in 2024.
okay.
It is still the case that if you're passing regulations and whether or not your town decides like it's grandfathered in on this theory that if it wasn't expressly permitted, it's therefore it was prohibited. That still might be subject to challenge, but many towns now have gone ahead and done it that way, irrespective of, whether or not it's possibly challengeable. And there was legislation last year at the state level to allow municipalities to regulate in whatever way they saw fit short-term rentals. It passed the Senate, but never got all the way to the governor's desk. So I would say things have been pretty fluid and changing, but it's starting to get more and more maybe clear than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
So worst case, if we made an amendment, or changed our regulations, worst case, if the state then came over the top and handed something down and reversed it, we would have to go back in and fall in line.
Yeah, I don't know that the state would be reversing it. What the legislation I've seen that came through kind of just expressly gave towns the authority to do their own regulation because some towns wanted to actually engage in taxation. They've kind of gotten around it because they give like a short-term registration fee, which, same idea. But some towns actually want to add into, how we have an occupancy tax of 15%, they want to add another 2% for like a municipal occupancy tax. And the state was opposed to that.
Okay.
At one point, yeah.
All right, so I'm sorry, was anybody else have a comment?
I didn't mean to hijack the discussion, but I just wanted to clarify that the whole purpose of me pulling it together was in part because I'm hearing about it a lot from my neighbors, but also because of this affordable housing effort that we're engaging in. Yeah.
Yep, understood. And but I guess I'd like to get some clarification to make sure that they're all on the same page in terms of how the city wants to regulate this. And I'll contact the mayor just to make sure that and see what she thinks about it. But if we decide to go the regulatory route, then we've got certainly some good information that we can use to start from. So thank you. Anybody else? Anything else on staff report?
That is it.
Okay.
Short-term rentals, since we went on a little bit, my simple question was, do we know that they exist anywhere in the city of Groton now?
Yeah, I put together, it should be in the spreadsheet. There's about 45.
Oh,
10 of which are on my street.
What street is that?
14, they were 14, now it's down to 10. Jupiter Point Road.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I read it, but I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, we had 14 and now we're down to 10, I think. Although I didn't check all the sites, I just checked a couple, but yeah.
Is that the only place in Groton?
No, I would say the primary places are Groton Bank, Eastern Point, and Jupiter Point. Those are the primary places. But I would say about 25% are Jupiter Point, and then The rest are kind of dispersed around. When I say Groton Bank, I mean all the way from the park to the water. So taking that entire hill.
I just saw a page that I had overlooked in the packet, and it's a list of like 44.
Yeah,
44.
I think there's a little more.
Yeah, okay, all right. I looked at the packet in advance, but I missed it.
And that might not be the total list. I just took that from Airbnb and VRBO. So it's possible there could be other sites that have them that I just didn't look at. Yeah.
Are we ready to move on to 8-24?
Any other questions or comments about the staff report or the Airbnb regulation? All right. Let's move on to the 824. Next item is the 824 referral of the sale of 4 lots, Central Boulevard and 0 Central Boulevard and 0 Island Avenue. So, Taylor, that's something you want to show us? Or
Yep. I'm getting up now.
If you do, instead of under address, if you do, owner, I'm going to owner. And then go to Groton. Town. Maybe it's Groton Town, maybe city, something like that, there you go.
Yeah, city of,
Like that. I don't pull all of them up.
So these are the lots that are being proposed. So all these 4 lots on this road are all 0 Central Boulevard. And then this is a 0 Island Ave lot right here.
How did the town and city come to own these lots? Paul, may I speak? This is Jill Russ.
welcome.
Hi. So in 1968, the city and town of Groton acquired these 5 tracts of land in a foreclosure. The foreclosure judgment was a result of unpaid taxes in the amount of $3,509.62 for the town and $517.39 for the city. I did give you a packet with some of this information. Additionally, there's a $2,923.73 assessment in property taxes for the public sewer system in the city. The city currently has exclusive control over this property, which is how I found out we even owned it. I can be honest with you, I've lived in the city almost 30 years and I had no idea that we owned this property until somebody called in and said there's a tree that needs to be taken down. And so the question was, we're taking down a tree on property that I don't think most people even know that the city and town own. So the city currently has exclusive control. We can use it for open space, or we can leave it in its current condition. If the city uses all or part of the property for non-public use, the city must notify the town of such use, and the town has 90 days to respond for or against it. The city and town both have the right to terminate this agreement by giving the other party 6 months written notice. I have reached out to John Burt. He is comfortable with moving forward with this if this is something that the city chooses to do. The city has, and obviously it would have to go to the town council, but I've at least notified the town that we're looking at this. The city has the right to purchase the interest of the town at 85% market value. If we fail to exercise that right, the property shall be advertised for sale and sold to the highest bidder. Proceeds of the sale would be split 85% to the town and 15% to the city, minus $2,923.73, which would go to the city's sewer authority. This property was discussed in the city's real estate committee meetings on May 12th and on June 2nd. After reviewing, the committee voted unanimously to deem the property as excess and refer it to you. If the P&Z agrees to the 824, then it would need to go to a public hearing and then approved by both the city and town council for sale. that is what I know. There is a copy of the deed in your packet. It is very hard to read, but you can go on GIS and get an easier copy to read. And there is a copy of each commercial property covered in your packet as well.
We have physical copies of those available. It's a last minute edition, so if you guys virtually need copies, I can get those to you. But yeah, this is pretty much what we have here. The only thing that I will note that I have not noted yet is that there is a existing driveway that this abutter over here is currently using. However, we can fix that. Does she have an easement or?
We have not been able to find an easement. She stated to me that there was an easement, but we have not been able to find it.
Yeah, so she stated that there's an easement. If that's true, she can continue use the driveway, and she also has possibility of potentially purchasing it, but and again, it will go to the highest bidder, so that is the only things. And then this is pretty much all wetlands, so the chances of anything being developed on this are very slim.
Are there houses on these 4 properties?
No, they are all vacant.
In your packet, you can see a picture of what they approximately look like. They're really just trees. The back property does not have sewer hookups or water. So that one, if sold, potentially could be sold with another property that already has sewer and electric hookup. Or it could be sold as a lot of 5 properties.
Are there any alternative proposals? Have there been alternative proposals?
I don't know that people knew that this was even city owned. I don't know that people didn't know, but I've never heard that this was even city owned property before a couple months ago.
So this is the city pushing to push these properties into the public sphere rather than a developer trying to pull them into a project.
Correct.
And what's I mean, other than obviously real estate is very marketable, like what's the rationale behind doing it now versus?
The goal behind it is we are short on public housing, on housing in general in the city.
So you're just
I mean, this is very desirable.
very
So
desirable.
are there any protections against land banking? Someone coming in and buying these and sitting on them, or?
According to the deed, you would have to, it's the highest bidder. So yes, somebody could buy them all.
Yeah, maybe could just make them a lot bigger.
Absolutely. So there is nothing in the deed that says that it can be earmarked in a specific way. We can't put out an RFP saying you have to make it into housing. It is literally the highest bidder. And that is my understanding. I will go back to our attorneys and confirm that, but that is my understanding. Additionally, even if it is just purchased by somebody else, we would not need to maintain it. We would not be responsible for any trees that are falling on it. And it would go back on the tax roll.
If I understand your question, you were thinking the other way. Is there anything that we can put in place or is in place that can protect
Yeah,
the
because
city from somebody buying them all?
Because essentially, we're land banking it. So my other question would be, is it beneficial to sell it? Will the city have more leverage holding on to this later on, or if we give a private? If the intention is to promote housing, how can we assure that some private entity doesn't do that?
But I don't let them just hold it.
Sure, I mean, if you have a neighbor, say, one of the abutters that would naturally,
Like,
since some of them are using part of the properties anyway.
Yeah.
They show up and they've got a certain amount they can go to, and then some developer comes in and goes, I'll buy all 5 of those for,
Well, you could do a test
Well-
case and sell one. You don't have to sell all 5 at the same time, right? You could do
yeah,
a test case and be like, let's sell one, see what happens, and then.
I mean, if the objective is to raise revenue, then it's highest bidder. But the objective is for the housing,
Well, I
we
think-
need to sort of figure out if there's a way that we can focus on that. And my follow-up would be, have we talked to the historical commission in the area? And we haven't talked to Parks and Rec about anything that they could potentially?
So I did talk to Parks and Rec. They are not usable spaces at this point, but they're wetlands. So even building a house there would be challenging. I'm just gonna be honest.
On all of them or just island?
special.
All of them, with the exception of the top one, is only half. Taylor, am I remembering that correctly? Can you put on the wetlands? map. The other option is we can also do nothing with it. I mean, we don't have to sell these properties. The deed does say, the property shall be advertised for sale and sold to the highest responsible bidder. I'll get the definition of responsible is, other than has the money.
They can pay for it, yeah.
Well, I think it's a great conversation to have, just these particulars about what our objective is, and if we do put it to the highest bidder. And our objective is housing, is there anything that we can do in the process legally to sort of incentivize that to happen?
Interestingly, each of those lots, the 0 Central Ave lots and the abutting lots are all about 1/10 of an acre, which is smaller even than, they're in R 5.1, they're all like 4,500 square feet lots. So they're little lots. And having gone by them recently, you know, the city-owned lots in between are currently used for gardens of abutters, partial driveways of abutters. They're kind of treating it like it's the common property of the two houses on either side.
So do we have an adverse possession issue?
Well,
Because I looked that up, because it is municipally owned, no, but additionally, the one that is being used is the one property that they called and asked us to remove a tree.
Oh,
So
so they know.
they, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
the issue there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The one on the farthest right, so the most east there is the biggest property.
Yeah.
The other ones are the same size as the other properties on that street. There's
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 other houses on that street that have that size property. So they are very small lots, with the exception of the furthest one to the east and the one in the back. Really, we're kind of at an exploratory phase on what we can all do with this, but the real estate committee realizes that this is excess property. So I wanted to continue the conversation with you. If you approve the H-24, I will continue the conversation with the city council. Again, we don't have to sell this property. If people have better uses for it, I'm okay with that. But I wanted to at least have the conversation.
I probably everybody knows this but me, but why is the town involved?
So in 1968, when the property was foreclosed on, they owed town taxes and they owed city taxes.
Okay.
They also owed sewer fees. So those 3 things, that's why it's 85% town, because that's probably what the percentage was of taxes owed at the time, 15% city, and then the sewer fee remains the same.
But if these properties were to be sold to private owners, then they would be on the city tax rolls, no division with the town in terms of future tax.
They would still be town taxed and they would still be city taxed, like every resident.
No
Yeah.
differently than any other property.
Correct. Correct.
So when you look at this and when you look at the parcels there, it looks like that. I guess it's the middle or the second from the right. It looks like it abuts the property lines.
Oh, the brown house.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They are right on the property.
Yes. Plus these GIS aren't perfect.
Mhm.
well, but even well,
Probably pretty close, but yeah. But they're buildable lots, right?
but would there be enough side lot to build a house where the other house is so close?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I was wondering that, like, does it have
But
enough?
the setbacks are based on where the property lines are, not where the houses are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So like where the existing houses are. So you should still be able to build on your own property, even if that
Yeah.
house is close.
As long as you have your 5 feet or
But
whatever it
is
is.
there enough room to build a house?
Yeah.
With your set each side?
You did it longer versus wider.
Depends on the size of the house.
Yeah.
Probably gonna be narrow and tall.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, think of some beachfront houses, how tiny they are.
3 stories.
Yeah, 3 stories tall, but
Kind of like the one on Circle.
Oh yeah. You can definitely build a house on a 10th of an acre. And this, again, the setbacks are from the property line, not from the other houses. So it doesn't matter what the other people are doing.
That
I-
one house is one of the border. knows that tax.
Yeah. But a big driveway.
Yeah.
You know, what would be fun is if somebody, not the city paying for it, but if somebody would be interested in using any of these properties to create a demonstration house of the missing middle concept. Since there's so much discussion about the missing middle and different models that it entails or could include, if there could be, someone would be interested in doing a demo of a missing middle type domicile.
I guess the first thing I think of with the city maintaining these properties is, you know, the idea that the one resident asked to have a tree taken down. Well, when they don't ask to have the tree taken down, and the city-owned tree falls and wrecks a house, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the liability there, that if there were a way that we could turn this over to private ownership. Since the city at large isn't really gaining anything from these properties. In their, you know, their current state, that if they were back on the tax rolls, that we could reduce the liability for the city and gain the taxes anyway.
That would be the smart move.
Good question regarding Shinnecock. So is it Shinnecock Golf Course owned by the city?
Shinnecock Golf Course is owned by the town.
Okay. Do they want to incorporate that back lot portion to
The golf, that's what I
golf
was
course?
wondering. That's what I was thinking, it was left
As
over
a-
from the golf
and then
course.
we can do a deal where we get the front parts. I don't know, or just in general, it might be a good addition. It creates a buffer. There's already tree cover there.
The town definitely could ask for that. And I don't think that we would object to it. I mean, it's 85% technically owned by the town.
Right.
So we have not proposed this to them yet.
Okay. Plus, there's no access to that island property, right? From-
Correct.
It seems
Yeah.
like a good move for the town to add a buffer there. Since that lot is probably, I mean, I don't know without looking deeply, but there's wetlands and there's trees. It's probably not great to build, and it will, you know, that could be a good part
Probably good
of
for
it.
the golf course to have runoff space.
Yeah.
It's probably littered with golf balls anyway.
Yeah. Interesting. The other discussion with the real estate commission was that if somebody chose to buy like a front property and the back property, or all 5 properties, they could change the property lines to build it back a little ways. So you had a longer parcel of property, since they're all connecting. I don't think anything's off the table right now. It's just, I wanted to bring the discussion up and see where people were at with this and thoughts, with the possibility for it to sell. You asked about historic district. I don't believe this property is within the historic district.
Okay.
I know a couple houses on Tyler are, or on Central are, but I will take a look at that.
So the action for the commission is this is either a positive or a negative opinion on the referral, correct?
Correct.
And that would, and the only thing that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you remember how many days they have to make a decision?
For P and Z. -25 referral, or 24, sorry, I actually don't know the statutory.
You think there is one?
I bet that's check.
So I think you were starting to say this, Paul. Just so I understand this referral to the commission, we have some amount of time to digest it and make a decision, but the decision is, you were saying it's just a positive or negative referral to the concept of the sale of the property? Is that right?
Right, I
We're
mean,
not-
go ahead.
I mean, the side things that we were talking about, the sale of one property at a time, or the package deal, or any of those other considerations, that isn't what we're crafting right now, right? We're just approving the highest level concept of the city releasing the excess property to potential public sale. And that would be ultimately a council decision with our favorable recommendation if we gave it.
But we have no say in which way it went. We just can say yes, sell it, or no.
Right, but eventually a project would likely come to us for approval of, now a privately owned property, the way it would normally do,
And you guys have 35.
35 days. So in theory, we could decide on this at our next meeting.
But I don't know that we have any more information, because if we can't say how it can be sold, it's just yes, I can, or no, I can't.
You can, however, come to the public hearing and state your concerns at the public hearing.
Is the public hearing gonna happen in the next 35 days, like before our decision-making deadline?
No, it would not go before you would. You would make this decision before it would go to a committee of the whole, and then from the committee of the whole, it would go to a public hearing.
So we could,
Right, so,
go ahead, Paul.
go ahead.
I was just thinking out loud, though, so this commission could give a favorable recommendation to the high level concept of the city selling off these excess properties, which wouldn't guarantee anything about the sale or whatever, and then we could attend the public hearing, and like every other citizen, we could give our 2 cents as to what the council should do in terms of their approach to such a sale.
Does it have to be specific selling off? Can we agree that the city should dispose of these properties so that it leaves open the discussion of whether they're incorporating that other piece into Shinnecock, or so we're not saying, yes, sell this, but this is a correct conversation to have. And we approve of it like we're part of the process.
Discussions of disposal.
Yeah, discussions of disposal, not necessarily.
How to dispose.
Yeah,
But did you say that it's required to go to public auction or, okay,
So it's interesting because it says, if the city wants to purchase the land, we would need to pay 85% of the market rate price. It does not ever say in here that if the town wants to purchase it, they would have to give us 15%. That is my understanding, though. I mean, that is only what makes sense. So if the town wishes to purchase that property, I think that we would have an understanding that they would need to pay us 15%.
or they
we
give
just
you one
leave
of the
it.
lots.
Or we just leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but or they give you some extra lot, like more percentage on one and not the other lots. So, yeah.
so we could call John and say we got a good deal for it.
Yeah,
Every year, just give us this one.
we'll take the four in the front, you can have the one in the front.
Which larger?
And more useful to them.
Acre for acre.
So really, if we give a favorable opinion, what we're doing is basically giving the mayor and the council the ability to then have a debate about doing this, correct?
Correct.
Our approval doesn't mean that it's gonna actually be sold or will be able to be sold. It just means that if we gave a favorable recommendation, it just means that would give the city and the council the ability, and the town council the ability to then look into this further, have a public hearing, and do all the other things that would need to happen in order for the sale to move forward. But we're not making any decisions about selling or not selling or how it should be done. Is that accurate summary?
Yeah, the statute 824 just says that before a municipality can locate, accept, widen, or abandon any public way or structure, the planning commission must issue an advisory report.
If you were looking at these properties and you were saying there's absolutely no way that these should be sold, then you would want to say no. If you believe that the conversation can continue, then we would say yes. And you have 35 days to have that debate and discussion and thought. Back to the property in the back, honestly, if the town wanted to keep that, they would just say, we don't want to sell that property. And then it would just stay as is.
What benefit, if any, is there in us keeping hold of those 4 lots?
So it's green space. It's open space in the city. It's not really developable space. Taylor and Scott Reagan, our building official, went and took a look at it. And I mean, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. What were your impressions of it?
So I believe that from a player standpoint is that probably the only thing you could really do with these 4 lots over here is probably put a tiny home. I can't really think of any other public facility that the city would put up that would meet setbacks and even, special permit uses, like, I couldn't picture unless anybody else has.
You know, unless the most easterly property there on Central, unless the city were to put a playground there or something.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's about the size of.
We're pretty much our own like idea of what we could do with the properties, and same with this one.
And really the thought was Eastern Point Beach is a quarter mile away. I mean, we could put a small parklet there.
Well.
It seems
but
like
there's-
an
I mean,
opportunity.
A little mushy. And
Well-
yeah, I mean, it would be an interesting spot, but
But that could be a dog park,
Or it could be a
Just a-
house.
or it could be a house, right?
Right.
I mean, that large lot obviously would be the.
Right.
the
So
prime
with
lot.
the current zoning laws, is it illegal to build what is already out there on the similarly sized lots?
If assuming all these are houses, no.
there's one that is a garage.
Okay.
And we cannot build a freestanding garage on these properties. That's my understanding.
Unless the neighbor bought that property and
Expanded.
incorporated it.
Correct. But other than that, a house would be the only thing.
Yeah, it looks like the one property, the house may not meet the setback requirements, but it's hard to tell from, this view. But there's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
And it-
Yeah. It seems like a great
Yeah.
opportunity to at least allow more housing, even though we can't force that outcome. We could allow it, or continue the conversation that might allow it.
And you said there's a shared driveway and you're trying to find an easement or something. That shared driveway has.
If you look at the one furthest to the west on the road, you can see where the driveway is on the image.
Yeah.
And that has been there for many years. If you look back into GIS. The property owner did express that she believes that there was an easement, but we have not been able to find an easement.
So is the easement the red line or the blue line going all the way to?
I'm talking about the gray driveway that cuts across the vacant lot into the lot that's labeled 32, I think.
Yeah, it's that gray line. I think the red line is a sidewalk, actually.
Okay.
All right, what's the consensus here? Are people ready to move forward? Do we want to wait until next month to make a decision here, or are people comfortable moving forward tonight with a recommendation one way or the other?
So if we gave a favorable recommendation, we could then attend the committee of the whole and the public hearing and encourage such things as horse trading with the town for the back property to connect it to Shenecosset, or any of the other things that we could advise the city to do in terms of placing restrictions on the sale, selling them one at a time, selling them with conditions or whatever, but that would be, we would have to do that separately, privately, at the public hearings and the committee of the whole meeting.
variances.
Do we know what the town's position is?
I've spoken with John Bird, I have not spoken with the council. John expressed to me that he's comfortable with at least the discussion moving forward.
I think it would be hard to take the prime lot and turn it into a park.
The big one,
Yeah.
if we chose to turn it into a park, we have every right to do that as exclusive users of it. We have exclusive use of this property, meaning we can do anything public for the public with this property without having to have the town's input. So if we wanted to make this into a park or into trails or something like that, we could absolutely do that under the current deed.
So we could keep that one lot and just tell them they can have. Okay.
Well, you could keep the big lot that has access plus some of the back and make it bigger if you wanted to.
But this is a discussion that would actually take place at the public hearing and with the council and the mayor, right? In terms of what do we want to do with each individual lot and what people think about, making a park there or those kind of things. That's a different discussion than the one we're having right now.
Yeah.
A favorable approval basically just says, yeah, let's go ahead and move forward and see get the input and see what the wider community is appropriate, and then see based on that what we want to, does the city want to sell all of them, sell only 2 or 3 of them? But that's a decision that would be made by the mayor, the council, and then the town council, correct?
Correct.
So yeah, we're not making any recommendations about what to do with each particular parcel. We're just essentially a favorable recommendation would just allow that debate and discussion to happen. If we were to make an unfavorable, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You say, and our recommendation, a favorable recommendation, wouldn't be giving away, if you will, any more or less influence over what happens next. Except if we, this commission at this time, were adamant that those properties must remain under the control of the city, and we didn't, and we gave a unfavorable recommendation.
Yeah, I think the point's well made, really. If we want the process to go forward, we give a favorable recommendation. I'm just concerned, how the public, people can get on Facebook and say that all of a sudden we decided to sell all this property and put a data center there. People just run with information that isn't, inflammatory. So that's why I think there is a lot of great uses here. We sort of touched upon the thoughtful nature that this process will go through because we all understand how it works. If there's some way to just put that along with a non-binding favorable recommendation, that's great. If not, I think, favorable recommendation would come anyway. I mean, speaking for myself, but this is the right process, and it has to, based on what we're being asked for, go through a favorable recommendation.
Could we express it as a favorable recommendation to continue the discussion about this?
Yeah, continue
That's
the
all we're
disposal of these properties. Yeah.
Continue the
Discussing options.
Yeah.
Not really.
I mean, we have to just say yes.
Right, we're either on board with the city abandoning the properties or we are not.
Or could we?
But I don't think of it as abandoned.
No, I mean, it's the abandonment of the ownership of the property. That's whatever the word is in the statute. It's not leaving
Maybe
them.
just letting them go. Abandonment is such a strong.
I'm sorry, I'm using statutory language, the giving it up or whatever.
Yeah.
We're either, it's binary here. It's either,
The idea of continuing to talk about it.
what I'm saying is, it's not continuing to talk about it with the option of at some point pulling back our recommendation.
No. Yeah.
We are either on board and then mayor and council then decide what happens. Or we
But I think when we
lock
look,
into them at this point.
I think as a commission, when we look at the map, we say, well, 3 of those lots, probably, yeah, sell them. But 2 of them, well, maybe there's other options to be explored. That was the honest.
Yeah, maybe this is helpful from the position and authority that we have right here. You know, we're not blessing it by any means, but by the statutory reason we're consulted. We're, you know, a favorable recommendation doesn't mean we're giving up options or like, it's just, this is all we're allowed to express at this point. We as private citizens can go like everybody else and have further discussions about it, but at this stage, we don't have the power to do more than yes or no.
Just for the sake of argument, maybe Taylor can help enlighten us here. If we were to give a favorable recommendation to this parcel or that parcel instead of all 5, is that, I mean, are these separate? Could they be itemized in that way?
Yeah.
Could the commission say, we approve mayor council to do whatever you want to do with this one and this one, but not that one and that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Currently, these properties are just abandoned properties, basically. So they can stay exactly how they are.
Is the city like mowing them or anything, or they're just?
The city is mowing the first one, or I'm sorry, the one furthest east, the city is mowing. The one furthest west. It has been told to me that it was cleared by a public works director, 4 public works directors ago. And that the property owners have agreed to maintain it after that on either side, the abutting property owners. So it is well landscaped, it is pretty being used.
So the fact that they've been maintaining it, does that give them takeover rights?
No, because it's a municipality, it's municipally owned, and they were not under the assumption that it was theirs.
Okay.
Because this is also the property that asked us to remove the tree.
So Public Works, in reality, Public Works could put a 30-foot high pile of road salt there on that property. You know, come scoop.
Well,
I feel like that would be
that.
against wetlands.
Oh, maybe wetlands, yeah.
Maybe wood chip, how about
But yeah,
that?
Well, you know, I would be comfortable if only to send a marker, kind of eliminating the wetlands, tree covered landlocked lot in the back and giving a disfavorable for that and a favorable for the others. Just, you know, since it's an advisory position anyway, but that sort of sends a message out that it doesn't look like it can be buildable anyway back there. Anyway, that's just my thought to move things forward since we can talk about individual lots. But
Would they not allow them to take it for the golf course?
that would sort of more open it up. Well, that's a good question.
It is currently town and city owned. With the exclusive rights of the city controlling the property.
So they already have it, basically.
We already have it.
Yeah,
The
we
city does.
No.
So I'm saying, okay, then.
We're saying no, don't let go of it, basically.
And
well,
but if
it
we
was-
say that, that would be stopping any property owners from buying that one and the smaller ones and extending the smaller ones in front. So that would be the downside of that.
But a future A24 conversation could then release that one property to mayor and council working out a deal with the town. If that's what we wanted to do in a way to steer that particular parcel into becoming, you know, staying green, becoming part of the Shinnecock town property. You know,
I guess my question is, what would the benefit to the town be of that? It's currently a buffer. I mean, other than just leaving it as is, it's currently a buffer. It's wetlands, so nobody's gonna build on the majority of it.
right.
But I would agree with what Colleen said, is that if you allow that back property to be sold, it could potentially have a developer who picks up all of the parcels, including the back one, and extends some of those lots, or somebody who picks, you know, one of the middle parcels but wants a back lot as well to extend their property.
Yeah. So if the city keeps the back lot it's just green space.
Mhm.
The other parcels
Well,
could be,
The city could keep the back lot, they negotiate with the buyer of the front lot
Yeah.
to offer them their
It gives the city-
extended property.
That gives the city more leverage based on that potential later. And it's tree cover and wetlands already. So it's like we're dealing with extreme heat situations. We're trying to plant more trees. There's a lot of arguments for.
And there's a lot of water down in that area
Mhm.
that needs to go somewhere.
good argument for leaving it as is.
Yeah, so that's why I'm.
You mean the big lot, not the little lots?
Big lot.
Yeah.
So, just a question for clarification. If we gave a vote to, not recommend or unfavorable vote, does this stop this whole matter right in its tracks?
Yes.
If we gave an unfavorable vote, it just stops the whole matter right in its tracks.
Mhm.
Boom.
I would
Okay.
need an 824 before I can move forward. The other disadvantage with that property, just to be transparent, is that there is no public access directly to it. You can see where Island.
You have to
ends.
extend that.
Yes, and there is not sewer or electric hookup, so it would be very costly to extend that to that property. So if it's not connected to one of the front properties, it would not be very useful. In my eyes.
And does the city own the place where Island Avenue currently terminates up to, see, there's like a property line there, so that belongs to the city,
It's a backer street.
undeveloped part of the street.
I don't think it pulls up on GIS because I don't know that
Yeah.
roads do, but yes,
But it's a,
big.
yeah.
I like Bob's idea that, we freeze the big wet property and agree that was four the properties move forward. It only makes sense that big wet property just stay the way it is. So I agree with you that maybe divide our recommendation in that respect.
And that means we have it, not the town using it for the golf course.
They would have to, if the town wanted to do something more with it, they'd have to approach the city. Otherwise it stays open.
Just a little bit,
Just
but
have a data
see how much woods is there. If you look at where
The back of the,
Yes.
the back of the golf course is, they're not using.
yeah, they're not using it already.
Oh,
Yeah.
not that many golf.
When you see it on GIS, it looks like the end of the golf course, but they're not using it. It's all forest.
Totally dense.
Mm.
So, there's no mandatory waiting period from what I've found online for a future application. So, if this were the mayor's main focus, an 824 application could come every month.
Yeah, we can revisit. It's not a no forever.
It's not a, silent on the topic for years or something. If we were to give a favorable for 4 parcels, and then we could come back very quickly and talk about the other. It would just, if one of the ideas was a future discussion with the developer for combining the back lot, it would require another 824, another mayor and council, another public hearing, just for that one property. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this whole we would just have to repeat this whole process for that one. The one parcel.
So by saying that, are you saying that we ought not to treat it separately?
No, not at all. I'm saying that if we decide tonight to treat it separately, we would not be closing the door on the city,
Right,
releasing the property later.
right.
I mean, the downside of that would be that if we then decided that if a developer was interested in a portion of that land in the back, we have to have this debate again and go through the mayor and the council would have to approve it, the town council would have to approve it. We have to go through all that, the public hearings would have to happen all over again. So it would be significantly more complicated to do it if someone were to be interested in say that it would be the eastern half, the eastern portion of that property, which may be actually developable. And then only if it was merged with the property that currently exists on Central, really. Because it has no other act.
But to what Bob was saying earlier, if we approved all of this in one big package, then conceivably a developer could be the highest bidder and take it all and do something with it that is not in maybe necessarily in the city's best interest. But we wouldn't necessarily have a mechanism to influence whether or not that happened at that point.
But isn't that what our zoning law is for? It's to make sure that these properties are developed in a way that aligns with the city's goals for the area.
Yeah, the only thing I would ask Colleen is if I mean there are things in the regulations that we can step in front of, and there are things that we can't. I just don't know at what point, we can't make exceptions to say no, if the regulations permit. So
Mhm.
I guess the NO then would be combining parcels, maybe. Does that make, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud about where would we have the influence on whether or not a
Mhm.
developer went in the back and use the front for driveways or something. We would have to approve a combination of parcels. Is that accurate? Would we have that ability?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we have that jurisdiction, right? Because for property lines to change, we would also have site review of any, I think because of the wetlands, we would have to look at that too.
Yeah,
Additionally,
go ahead.
because it would have to go to wetlands, they have oversight over whether or not trees are removed, things like that. So, that's another barrier that people would have to go through or safeguard for the city.
For the development, but not to change the property lines. People can change the property lines on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would say that the city probably does not want to get into the business of changing these property lines themselves because the
No.
cost would be prohibitive.
Yeah. I just meant somebody asked a
Mhm.
question about changing property lines, which can be done without anybody's approval. Yeah.
Wait, can it be done without anybody's approval?
Sure.
Changing property lines?
Mhm.
If you buy two parcels and you want to merge those deeds, I think you can do it, right? I don't think you have to come to planning and zoning to merge your two property deeds.
Didn't we vote on merging two properties?
Oh, is that a thing here?
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Usually gets signed off by the planning and zoning or zoning official.
Okay. It's just it's that way everywhere.
Well, it may not have to come before the commission if it's something that we would have to look at that zone, I guess.
If you are not comfortable moving forward with this tonight and you have questions you would like me to get answered, I'm happy to come back with answers to your question. I have questions. Again, I am not saying these all have to be sold. I just want the discussion to be able to be had. And kind of the knowledge to be out there that these are city-owned properties and that we
Yeah.
could potentially things with them. Additionally, we have a housing shortage. We could even get 3 houses out of this. I would be really happy.
Yeah, sure.
I also, when you bring that up, what Bob had said earlier, we do have to think about if we just give them away and they're not buildable. You know, how many people would be at our door saying, well, you don't want building over here, but you'll have building over here.
Well, it would be reflected in that price that someone paid for it, whether to the extent it's buildable, whether it's a 600 square foot house or a 6,000 square foot house, it's going to be reflected in that
That's not
price.
the question.
Meaning, so I don't think that we have the right, per the deed to say we're requiring an RFP that insists that you're building at least a property, or a house on there. Again, I can look at the attorney or talk to the attorneys, but from what I'm reading in this deed, I don't know that we have that right. It just says to the highest bidder.
And that's fine, but it's the perception of us not allowing it to be built there.
You mean not selling the property?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that.
You mean through an unfavorable? Yes, through a not favorable proposal.
If you were to say, don't give up those lots because it'll only make housing denser there. We don't want housing denser there, but it's okay to be denser over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand what Sue's saying. I
I
mean, I
think,
could read property owners that would probably be not happy with houses going into those small lots, but that's,
But I would also say those 3 property owners can come to the public hearing.
Yeah,
And I encourage everyone to come with you.
And those 3 have the option to buy them.
So that
Yes.
you try it.
I'm,
yeah, and then
I-
pay taxes on them.
I would be favorable for the front lots. The thing what I'm stuck on is the POCD, climate change, we have wetlands, we have trees. And the lot doesn't seem like it's going to afford a lot of development anyway. So that's why I would be predisposed to section that out. And if down the line something changes, they can come back with an idea and we can then give a favorable recommendation. But that's the only one I'm hung up on. It. The other ones, someone can make a house fit in there. That's exactly what we want to try to accomplish. It's just
I'm with you. I think, wetlands are good. Open space is good.
I move that we offer a favorable recommendation 824 for the 4 lots on Central Avenue.
I'll second.
Second, yeah.
All right, there's a motion and a second for a favorable recommendation for the 4 lots on Central Avenue.
And
Motion by Ross and the second, who's the second on?
I'll have to follow that up with a negative recommendation for Island Ave. It'll have to be part of it.
Okay. So Mr. Rusk has made a motion for positive recommendation for the lots on Central, right? Central Boulevard. And
Yes.
negative for the lot on Island Avenue, correct?
Yes.
And the second, is there a second for that motion?
Yes, by Sue.
Second by Bergeron. Any further discussion on that motion? Anybody else have anything to say about positive recommendation on the four properties on 0 Central Boulevard and a negative recommendation for the 0 Island Avenue property? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right, so there's 7 ayes there. Everybody's in favor?
6, 8.
All right,
We're only 7 of the
7.
I'll just post count.
Do you vote?
1,
No.
2.
Oh, I forget the
People on the.
2 online, 5.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
thank you. All right, moving on. Next item on the agenda is zoning regulation review, sections 3, 4, and 7. And we're pretty close on section 3, right? We have only a couple of questions left on section 3. Anybody else have, let's start there because we're really close on 3, and then we'll move on to, I think the next, what do you think, Taylor, the next?
Yeah, section 7 will be the next one. And that one looks like we're wrapping that up too.
So the only thing that I had on, pulling them up. So on 3, Um,
I'm talking about section 3.
yeah,
I had, you just passed by my comments. In just a general comment in the tables. 3.4B3, in some of the tables, the shaded area is checked.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
Yeah,
That was
okay,
a-
I just wanted to
the
mention,
error.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely clean this up when we get to the information session here. All right, just make sure I'm getting. I think we've covered all these.
Well, this
yeah,
is,
Taylor, all the changes we made the last time, right?
Yeah, so I believe that the only thing that we didn't really come to a full decision on was the building coverage changes. I think we left off as we'll visit this at this meeting and confirm whether we want.
I thought we changed them all.
Okay, all right. So we don't need to-
30%, 35%.
Yeah. All right, so that's all said and done.
The only thing that, the discussion that came up tonight that might be additional would be permitted use for short-term rental if we wanted to try to inject that now.
And for the 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit for the multifamily zone, did we decide anything about that? Are we keeping that or are we keeping the dimensional requirements for per dwelling unit?
Oh,
Well, I
that was-
think,
No.
No?
yeah,
It
for
didn't-
the,
Go on,
ahead.
Paul.
well, I think that the question about the minimum of 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit is, I think that's it's gonna be very restrictive in terms of getting multifamily housing built. The town has a 2,000 square foot per dwelling unit requirement. I think we ought to, if we're gonna put a minimum of that, we ought to, we ought to at least go to 2,000 square feet. Because the city has smaller lots, it's more dense than the town, and it's, from my perspective, it would make sense for us to at least, go to the 2,000 square foot per dwelling unit minimum. But the 40,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit. So does that, the way that
Yeah.
the town's reg says a minimum of, there's a minimum of 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit. What do folks think about that? I think the 4,000 square feet is unnecessarily restrictive in terms of the amount of housing we're allowed to be developed.
I don't know if it's a problem for any of the existing structures on the larger parcels in the RM zone. That might be an academic exercise, because there are some multi-unit buildings, but some of those parcels are quite large, 4 or 5 acres or whatever. So I don't know how many units are in those buildings if they're even anywhere close to compliance or not compliance with the 4,000 square foot of the lot per dwelling unit. But there are a few parcels in that zone that are much smaller, that are only about 5,000 square feet. So for one of those units to become a duplex would be forbidden, for example.
As it currently stands.
As it currently stands. So, if I would be in favor of changing the square foot per dwelling unit at a minimum to match what the thumb rule that the town uses. But again, I don't know. I don't know if we have the information here to to calculate out what that could mean for a parcel of size X. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many units could you, shoehorn into a property, of a certain size?
But don't we have maximums for building lot coverage and height and things like that? So we have other bounds that kind of
Yeah.
control how big things are.
Yeah, we could probably calculate what you could do on a lot of, size X, but we don't know right now if existing structures are anywhere near those boundaries.
Right. But if we make the minimum smaller, then it won't affect existing properties, right? So we won't have any issues with non-compliance. We would just allow new properties to become to add density.
The only way it could be a problem is if we pick a new number and some existing structure is already non-compliant, and we pick a new number and they're still non-compliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do we care about non-compliant
Maybe
properties
not.
that are already non-compliant? I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
I think that might be a little too much brain power for all of us to make sure that the existing non-compliants are continuing to be non-compliant in the same way that they were before.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's fair. I appreciate taking the brain out of gear on that one.
Well, let's put the brain back into gear. Because the apartment that we were using as a basis when we were doing the regulations, the apartment complex was gonna have over 300 units. So at 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit times 300 is 1.2 million.
You would need a lot of that size in order to put that many units. But that's all one level.
And that was more than one level.
Okay.
I think that was 3 stories.
Okay.
But this doesn't affect what we were doing in the GC and the GCR zone. This is just the RM zone. Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Good catch.
So we're all clear on that. This doesn't have any impact on what we're on the regulations that we passed. Not recently, we passed in January of 2025. The GC and the GCR zone. This is just about the RM area. So it doesn't affect that. The thing is, if we say it's 40,000 square feet, and with a 4,000 square foot per dwelling unit minimum, that means the most dwelling units you can put on an acre lot is 10, right? So it's I guess seems fairly restrictive, especially like I said, since the town is using 2,000 square feet per dwelling. So we have other things that also limit the size of the building. There's height limits as well as coverage limits. Can you scroll down a little bit so we could just take a look at those quick? So we've got a building height of 40 feet and a building coverage of 40%. So there's 40 feet would allow a 3-story building at a reasonable assumption, Taylor.
Yeah.
So you could have a 3-story building with if it's 2,000, you could put if it's 2,000 square feet minimum per dwelling unit in 40 on a 3-story building, you could have 20 units on an acre lot, basically, correct? And it could be in a 3. You could put 20 units in a 3-story building. That would be the biggest building you could build. Just as a thumbnail, what do we what would this impact be? It would be 3 stories, and it would be with the 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit on an acre, 40,000 square foot, say an acre lot. That's 20 units in a 3-story building.
Now sounds
Is that
reasonable.
what? I'm sorry?
Now sounds reasonable. Is everybody all set with the proposed changes to the RM zone?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
And I do believe that concludes section 3. So we'll be moving on
I'm changing that to 2,000 square feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't need you guys. I do keep fully marked copies of everything, so maybe send for referrals and stuff, they'll all know.
All right. So next up is section 7.
All right. So, I believe we're just wrapping this up as well. So since I added that definition in section 2, this would pretty much explain if we were to adopt a conservation traffic mitigation zone. And then we have our changes here per the housing bill. I believe no one really had an objection to that. And we have to change this per PA 25-1.
What was there? It looked like there was a note there, Taylor. Was there was it? Hold on a little bit. There's a.
Oh yeah, that was from CCOG about the changes to the for the housing reg. That's pretty much it.
They have any? They're okay with it.
Yep.
But there's like, so what's the highlight there? When?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was just your comment to say that makes sense about the 1 space for every 4 6 feet for equivalent gross floor area.
I'm not sure why that was highlighted unless somebody had something to say about the places of assembly and the parking spaces for that.
Is there a way to calculate the equivalent gross floor area? How is that calculation done?
I think, yeah, that's what we were talking
That's what
about
we
like
talked
last
about.
meeting was the equivalent gross floor area, and if
Yeah.
that makes sense, because I think that we have like different ways of measuring how the spaces could be calculated for like different uses, and I think that this one was just a bit confusing.
Where is that and what we're looking?
This is in 7.2.B.
Point A?
Point B. Yeah.
It's hard to see because it's grayed out. On the printed copy.
So are we finding a problem with that phrase equivalent gross floor area? Are we struggling with that?
Believe so.
Well, the question is, how do you
I think
calculate? How do you?
before, what was throwing people off was a 4 fixed seats or equivalent. I think it was. We wanted to change it to where it said for each 4 fixed seats. Is that?
Well, in
Oh.
public, Because rooms are, usually there's a posting about the maximum number of persons that may be in
Right.
that room. Could it be translated to that metric? Would that be helpful to translate it to that metric, when the maximum number of people in a room is posted?
Oh, I'm kind of thinking.
Well, 4 fixed seats, it must mean 4 people, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, if
I'm
you're going
thinking-
by capacity, then.
I'm thinking it would make sense to just cross out or equivalent gross floor area and keep it for each 4 fixed seats. If that-
But she's saying, it's so if there's no seats, it's saying
Yeah,
for each 4 people that of the, allowed for the total capacity.
I was trying to come up with a way to get around that equivalent gross floor area, which is hard to calculate, maybe. I was trying to think of an alternate way to look at it.
You know, do you have any proposals for how to word that, or just, you think we just get rid of the equivalent gross floor area?
I'm still not sure what section you're looking at.
That's 7.2.B. It's gray, it's really hard to see where it says, it's this page.
At the very
See, here, it's like gray here, so it's hard to see it.
Okay, but I'm not finding anything about area.
It's at the top of page, it looks like this.
which number?
Yeah, so flip this over right here. It's part of the same table.
Ah, okay, thank you.
As long as you're up, can you help me? Can you help me too?
That's not where I'm.
It's just really hard to see this.
Is this the page?
So table 7.2.B.
It's hard to see because it's so gray. Right there, that's 7.2.
Okay.
And then this is the first.
I'm good. Okay, thank you very much.
This one here,
Oh, this is,
Thank you very
okay, this is the discussion.
I was
I'm sorry,
close.
I'm caught up now.
can we take the yes out of the description?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
was gonna note that too.
I have no idea where that came from.
It was in the last one we looked at too. It just seems.
I'll have to look for the yes and some of these and delete them.
Search for yes.
So, I know I gave you an example last time we talked about this, the equivalent floor area. If you're thinking of a place of assembly, 4 seats worth, the floor area for that, we have an example in the city, it's a place of worship, where seats are not employed, it's floor area, how would we quantify 4 seats worth?
Mhm.
I think that's what Paul's looking for, is better verbiage to use.
Capacity of the building.
But you would put that after or equivalent gross floor area not to exceed capacity.
Could you say, could we just go with capacity, like get rid of the fixed seats because it doesn't, whatever your gathering is, doesn't have to have seats, right?
Yeah, but this is about parking.
So one
Right.
for one space for each
4 people.
up to the maximum capacity of the building.
Right.
Basically like one parking
Exactly.
space, 1 car load.
Yeah.
Which
4
is
people.
determined to be 4 people.
Based on the capacity
One
of the
space.
room or whatever. Yes.
Trying to find like one space for each.
Or what do you say? You say people, persons? How do you say that?
Person,
Based on,
For each of 4,
one space based on capacity of the.
Building. The only problem with that is that I could see is if a developer reads that as structural capacity, which is usually much higher than the actual usage capacity of a building.
If it's,
or whatever the fire marshal or whatever you want to call it, public safety or.
The legal capacity?
Oh, yeah.
It's four. For every
Four
four,
occup-
one space for every four.
Every four occupants.
There you go.
There you go.
Whether they're sitting or
Standing.
standing or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sure,
we're
so you said
Square,
1 feet,
um,
what does she have written?
one
one
space
space
for
for
every
every
four
four
occupants.
occupants. What's written there?
Based off legal capacity. Because if you just say occupants, you're gonna say, well, there's 5,000 people in there.
Right. Based on capacity.
It's, but to Colleen's point, it should be off of like the public safety or whatever they call that.
Based on structural
Building
capacity.
really-
No, but you don't want to use structural capacity because the structural capacity of a building is much larger than what's usually in a building. So let's say a church goes in and they have 200 people or 200 seats, right? Going back to the seats thing. They expect 200 people to be there every weekend. The structural capacity of the building could be 300 or 350, depending on if it's, what kind of building it is. So you don't want them to build this massive parking lot just because they have a strong building.
Colleen, what if we put legal capacity?
Well, those
Well,
are the
that's
words
still,
that-
Yeah, that's the.
but it's safety, it's really building safety capacity.
But the safety capacity is the legal capacity.
Based
Well,
on.
she's thinking like an engineer.
She's saying it's the legal capacity, it's based on what the building is suitable for, not what the
No,
fire
the
marshal
legal
says.
capacity would be what's legally allowed, which would be based off of what the fire marshal
Yeah,
says.
maximum allowed occupancy is,
That's what we're to.
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I'm trying to express exactly what you're saying.
Based on.
How about
based
the
on.
posted capacity?
Yeah,
So
something
I'm
like,
thinking of when you see in a public place, it
Yep.
says
Yeah.
no more than so many.
Yeah,
You-
based on.
I'm saying
Seating, looking for
posted
something.
capacity.
Attendant capacity?
Huh?
Attendant capacity?
No, it's gotta be.
looking for like maximum allowed capacity, or maximum.
But that's for not the structural, but for the amount of people that could potentially show up
Public
for them.
safety.
We're trying to use the code words that mean
Right,
what the fire marshal says,
right.
without saying
Yeah.
what the fire marshal says.
With,
But
Also-
it's not necessarily those are all worst case scenarios. And
Yeah.
for parking, we just want the normal case scenario.
yeah, because to Colleen's point, if we use structural capacity, then it would be a bunch of parking spaces would have to be required, and that's not something we want.
What the fire marshal said, which is the legal capacity.
No. Nope. So that would I'm just clarifying like
Yeah.
the difference between there's the fire marshal capacity and or the structural capacity. Those are both going to be really high numbers compared to the actual usage of the building.
Well, then I'm
Does
not
that
sure what
make sense?
you're looking for.
Saying that you should say not to exceed the maximum allowable capacity, because, for example, you don't want to say one space for every four occupants and then put 500 people in the building and say like what you said, as long as we had space, but we're just saying it's, so that you have a maximum number of cars that relates to the maximum number of people in the building.
We have to have a framework that our boundary runs up against. So an engineered capacity for a dead load of the floor is not what we're looking for.
Exactly.
Max number of attendees.
But
No.
how do you determine the maximum number of attendees apart from what the fire
The
marshal?
seats.
Yeah, it's a not to exceed number so that you wouldn't have 500 cars there, which somebody said you could theoretically have.
What I'm saying is we have to have a number that's repeatable in any building that you build.
Hmm.
Who says how many people can fit in this room? Well, the only person that's allowed to say that is the fire marshal.
Right,
Who's gonna pick a number lower than what an engineer says that room can handle.
but it's higher than what.
Slightly. Right,
What-
but
what-
higher than what it's designed for. So, okay, so the previous ones that we've talked about are based on like boating. So boating was based on boats. The hospitals are based on beds. And this one we're trying to get away from seats just because places of assembly could have standing room, right? Or could maybe not be based on seats. But I think we're running up against an issue with not having a good way to approximate how many people are designed to fit in a building without using seats.
This might be too vague, but I'm gonna suggest typical attendance. Typical attendance.
Again, we have to have some kind of number that can be applied legally
You
to
just,
this building and that building.
you're not looking for any, you're just looking for a cap so that it doesn't exceed something. And so, because it's parking spaces, so the number of parking spaces that you need should always be X because it can't exceed if you take, the building can hold 20 people, that's 5 cars because every car has to have theoretically 4 people in it. You know, so it's just, you're just looking for the cap at the top, the not to exceed number. You're not looking for anything below that. Cause you know, it's 1 space for every 4 people.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with some language that sort of just makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want language that works for like the seats work for saying if you're building a church, you know, we have 300 seats. You could base it off of that.
Yeah, I could to maybe if somebody wrote some sort of regulation that addresses what we're trying to do here, I can definitely look into that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up other
Yeah.
zoning law right now. Like I know people figured this out.
Do we just want to put it in front of the 4? So 1 space for every 4 allowable occupants?
Allowable. That's still,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a high.
The legal
number.
term for maximum allowed room capacity is occupant load.
That's what I got. That's maximum, that's the fire marshal kind of language, right?
Mhm.
Occupant
Yep,
load.
that's the flare. Yeah.
I had to look that up. I'm not being Mr. Smarty Pants over here. I looked that up because that's what I was looking for. This term used in commercial, public, and assembly places to denote the highest number of people permitted inside as dictated by fire codes and building regulations.
And what was the phrase you used?
Occupant load.
So
So-
every 4
persons
not
based on
to exceed maximum.
one space for every 4 persons based on maximum occupant load or something like that.
So and that would work. That's clear. I think we do need to clarify though that when we're requiring minimum parking, if we require minimum parking for the maximum amount of people, you're going to get a lot of parking for the worst case scenario. And that's, if that's what we want, then we can go forward with that. But I would caution us to pick a more middle ground value rather than trying to design for the maximum. I think that's why I'm.
So if we game this out in different scenarios, if the if
Operational occupancy might be one phrase. Sorry, I'm
Right.
reading this. Go on.
Okay, so a room that could be configured for many rows of seats, but is currently being configured, and so it would have an occupant load of 35 people, say. But it currently has a design for 4 barber chairs.
Yes.
So your reasonable expectation of parking requirements is a couple of cars at a time or whatever.
Exactly.
Versus that same space being used for a small theater or a place of worship. We're trying to, maybe it's. I'm just trying to come up with language that doesn't suddenly become prejudicial based on the use.
Well, this is only applicable to auditoriums, theaters, stadiums, and places of assembly.
Yeah,
There's
you're right. It wouldn't
also-
apply to a barber
It doesn't
shop.
apply to, unless you're having an assembly.
We can also take the approach of doing per so-and-so square foot of gross floor area. That way we're not really focusing on people, we're just focusing on the gross floor area of the.
My only concern there is that if we started talking about square footage, then it almost feels like we're making an engineering decision.
Right.
Or a decision that the fire marshal might not make.
Right.
Square footage is one thing, divide that by, 4 square feet per person or something, but
Yeah.
maybe if the room doesn't have enough egress points or something, the fire marshal will make a different decision on occupant load.
Also, that doesn't get around the problem that a lot of assemblies in that place are gonna be far fewer people than what you can literally pack into the place at top
Maybe,
occupancy.
but if, you know, the example of a place of worship, that has lots of open floor space and people are very close together, you know, the intended capacity of the room is, just say 100 people. Whereas if you were putting out chairs, you could probably put 50 or so in there, you know, and then how many do you intend to be there? So if we say, well, square footage wise, you can get 250 people in this room, therefore you need this number of parking spaces. Maybe that's unreasonable and unachievable,
It's too high, you're saying.
too high. Like that, and that's what Colleen's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's another thought process would be that if we do leave it open, so devil's advocate, I get, or an advocate, if we do leave it more open, an advocate for something, if we leave it more open, we do leave more decision on, we put more decision on the developer, which could, you know, has pros and cons. One of the pros to that would be, let's say it's a developer who's building um, like a theater and they're putting in chairs and they want people to come. And so they're going to they're going to pick they're going to say, okay, we have 200 seats. Let's do a number of vehicles that make sense for those 200 seats that they've designed. And they know a lot of people are going to drive there because it's an event and it's a blah, blah, blah. So they're going to have a big parking lot. They want to draw people in. Okay, so then let's look at the developer who's a local church that wants to draw the neighborhood. They're like, okay, we have maybe 100 seats. We know a lot of people are going to walk here. We're going to pick on the lower end of the spectrum of what we expect to be here, or they're just starting out and they don't know how many people will be there. Like you give the developer the opportunity to actually make the best guess for its occupants, that because they want to draw people, right? But they can kind of think through what is going to be needed for that property, even if they fit within this this category of assembly.
Again, playing somebody's advocate here. If you leave it up to the developer will say, I get more building. If I build bigger and don't have any parking.
They're gonna put as few parking spots as
Yeah.
they can get away with.
Put as few as
Yeah.
I can squeeze on there, and,
All right, yeah.
and then we'll leave the rest of the parking, because it's not up to me how many show up. I'll leave the rest to be a load on residential parking in the area.
Not my problem.
Anyway, I was only suggesting a cap because I was trying to make sure that, unlike what Colleen was worried about, that they were gonna have massive amounts of parking, I was more suggesting that somebody would want to build a big parking lot because they're like, to heck with just the church, we can rent out these spaces, you know, like that's what I was worried about, that they were gonna.
Well, that goes to
Yeah.
primary use and all.
Yeah. Because it's parking constrained in many areas around here.
Right.
That's what I was thinking about.
The Jason, that term you pulled up out of your phone a few minutes ago,
Occupant load.
yeah, could it be expressed in terms of like one space for every 4 occupants based off 75% of the occupant load?
Oh.
You know, just like cut it down. Or, you know, some percentage that we choose.
We could do that.
I
We
think
could say attendance capacity. That's another phrase. So if a building has a capacity limit for, you know, if it's a theater and they only sell so many tickets, that would be.
That's what. So you can say 1 space for every 4 occupants in attendance? That doesn't.
No, 1
work?
space for every 4 of your attendance capacity, of maximum attendance capacity.
Is that something that operators of a place know?
Yeah, they would know if they had a certain number of seats. You know, it'd be a different story, and it would be a difficult ask if you were. I mean, the place of worship I'm thinking of right now with almost no parking is I think it's all on street parking is the mosque. And but they would be existing non-compliant.
The church on the corner of Shenectawsit and by the police station, the substation by Branford Manor, they don't have a very big lot where they do the food
Same
drive
ones,
and the,
yep.
yeah, I don't know which church. it is.
Yeah, they have
They
some
have a pretty
parking.
small lot, but I
Yep.
think people are always parked on the sidewalk and
Right.
not the sidewalk, but the side of streets and
Right.
whatever, but even though they draw from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So to go back to Colleen's point about, we don't wanna make this for the worst case, right? I think the
Right.
idea of putting some sort of, using some sort of percentage of maximum attendance capacity, would make sense and be a way to avoid that, right? Because it's not gonna have maximum, it's not gonna reach maximum capacity every time it's used. So 75% or 80%, maybe something like that, would lessen the likelihood that we're gonna force people to put in way too much parking.
Yeah, I guess we're looking for a solution that protects both, the neighbors, from spillage of parking and the developer from being unable to create, unable to use a lot because of the intended attendance becoming too burdensome in terms of how many parking spaces would be required.
Or we could up the amount of occupants
People, yeah.
for the structural capacity. And that way it's not as many spaces that they would have to build per the fire marshal's recommendation.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So what would be the number for occupants?
You're saying use occupant load
Yeah,
as the benchmark, but saying 8 people per, or something like that?
yeah, or based off of,
But realistically, that number of occupants should be based on, we're talking about parking spaces, right? Be based on the number of people who are typically going to show up in any one vehicle, which is, not going to be like 10 or 12, right?
right. But if we increase the number of occupants based off the structural capacity, so say like 300 people were able to be in a building, it would be 30 parking spaces that they would need to build if we were like 10 occupants based off of.
Right. So we don't want to do that. Probably not enough. Then start,
So if you said every,
the right number, then number of occupants.
You guys have a pretty good math on.
That's,
Yeah.
that's 9 o'clock math.
Yes, it is.
but again, I'm just trying to think of good examples, but
All right.
if you're talking about places of assembly, typically you're talking about,
If people are
fairly
parking on the
dense.
street, it's not counted.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to ensure that all the parking's not going to be just on the street.
Yeah.
Because that's an unnecessary burden on
The street.
residential parking or area parking or other businesses that are affected by this use. But again, not
Can you
pick a number that's too burden.
say, like, instead of one space every 4 occupants, one space for every, like, the ones who drive, in other words, not the ones who walk in. I don't know if you can, but that's hard to measure.
Yeah.
We'll change
This is
it.
Yeah.
So Taylor, could we do some scholarship on this and
Yeah.
take a look and see how others regulate this, how they word it? We can, we're not the only people.
As many people as you want.
Yeah.
yeah, from a short search, it looks like intended occupancy or typical occupancy, expected occupancy. Those are all words that other people use just for for thought. And that is actually similar to when we do a building and we base it off employees, right? Because like when
Yeah.
EB hires 200 people, they don't call us and, well, they probably should call us about their parking. But maybe I'll use a different example, but like a restaurant, if a restaurant adds another waitress to their employees, they're not like we're not super worried about that kind of thing. So employees is one way that you can, as another measurement that other buildings use that is subject to fluctuation, but it's pretty much around one designed intent from the beginning.
I'm never going to that restaurant that they only got parking for the waiters and waitresses. I'm parking.
All right, so I'll do some extra research on this one.
Thanks,
I
Taylor.
looked up load capacity and it says defined by the fire marshal. So you could always put one space per 4 of the load capacity fire marshal as defined, or per fire marshal or something to that effect.
Yeah,
Because what it said in AI was that every building has to have the fire marshal's sign.
yeah.
So that's how you do, you know,
Yeah.
the easiest way to.
So my suggestion was so that we can avoid them building a bunch of parking based on the structural capacity for fire marshal is increasing the occupants that would be allowed. So that way it's not like
And it's a set.
4 occupants and everyone has filled 300 parking spaces because the capacity is such.
Well, we don't really have any cathedrals in Groton. I mean, what big assembly places do we have? I mean,
Groton Heights.
Roller skating rink is gone, right?
It all comes with.
well, that's not a. I don't know if that fits the definition of institutional
But
places,
places of-
assembly,
places of
auditorium,
assembly
theater.
in
Yeah,
the
well,
city.
Maybe I
The
never,
examples I think of
like a
immediately are the
stadium.
places
You know?
of worship in the city.
All right.
I'll do some extra research and come up with examples so we can all decide on the next meeting.
I think so. I think we're, yeah.
Then same thing for PA 25-1. Yeah, and then we recalculate that. And did everybody review and was everybody okay with the sign standards and regulation markups that Leslie proposed?
Yeah, they look fine to me, but there were a couple of things where she was gonna add something that, you know, we'll either have to take those references out or add whatever she was gonna add.
Yeah, diagram and all that.
Right. Like that was, you know, she had put in some notes like that.
Yeah. I can definitely take a look at the add diagram brackets and maybe even talk to Leslie herself and see what she was thinking of, but. Yeah.
Some of the references, I think the sections might have changed in when these got redone, but we just have to check
Yeah.
all the references are correct.
Yeah,
References.
yeah, these were just what was there that I crossed out that,
This is all the old stuff that
yeah.
they.
We did, I'm looking at the signage requirements that, there are proposed changes that Leslie had, and I know that we've talked about most of these at some point, and um, I'm not seeing anything that's particularly controversial here.
Yeah.
Setback.
Yeah, I would say if any of you guys have any comments or objections on Leslie's markups, you guys can just let me know, anytime and I can just fix that.
So this is, looking at, so earthworks is now, should be now 7.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through and make sure that all of these are numbered correctly when this is all finalized.
Okay,
Before we
yeah,
hit that, yeah,
Because all those are off.
yeah,
And then there's, and then the stormwater section, then everything got blown off too.
yeah. That one, I know that everybody was okay with the stormwater, so.
So then, Lilo, can you stop there? That you added that table, right? We'll scroll just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was discussed at last meeting, I think, everyone, so, okay.
So, I mean, this is all based on, this table is based on what?
So the stormwater, requirements came about because, there was a bunch of inquiries about paving parking lots and, planning, zoning, economic development and public works all kind of wanted regulations that would kind of regulate these kind of inquiries, and if they were to pave something, we would just want something like some sort of criteria to point to.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
developed this, right?
Yeah,
But this, you developed this based on, is this like on the state stormwater management requirements, or what is this? I'm just looking for what the basis of this is, that's all.
yeah. Well, this was,
Professional knowledge, fine.
yeah,
I said if it- I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, this was just something that I added just so that we have criteria, but that was pretty much how that came about, but yeah, this is all explained at the last meeting.
Okay,
Cause there wasn't really any clear ways to like for permitting requirements. So like if somebody came up to me and was like, I would like to pave this entire parking lot and it was like an acre. I had nothing to really tell people, oh, you need to come for a stormwater management plan that's signed by a licensed engineer, oh, you need to come this, because there really wasn't any language in the regulations that,
Okay.
yeah. So that's fine.
all right.
So then where did you pick the 2,000 square feet versus the acre versus the, I guess acre? Where did those numbers come from?
They were arbitrary.
Oh.
Yeah, those, yeah.
I mean, those look similar to what I've seen in South Carolina, where they have lots of wetlands and coastal lands.
Yeah, we took a look at a lot of regulations that dealt with this, and I believe that these were kind of the measurements that were also in place.
Nice.
But it was definitely the 1 acre or greater. I think that we do have regulations and criteria for 1 acre or greater. I think it was anything under 1 acre. And then I think the less than 2,000 square feet was just for like residential lots that just wanted to pave their driveway, and we weren't gonna stop them. So we still want to impact lower scale projects when dealing with bigger scale projects, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that's it for section 7. Cool.
And most of the changes in section 7 were around the signage and the
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, moving on to section 4. So I did incorporate Leslie's markups in a separate document. But like I said at the beginning of this meeting, I think that we should probably hold off on reviewing that until we get to doing or if we need to amend a map amendments. I think that that's when we should visit this because her markup suggested doing like a tiered system of the zoning.
Yeah.
I think. Let's see why I have that highlighted. Oh, because we want to
Yeah, she broke it up into northern, mid-span, and southern.
yeah.
I did a real general comment about it though.
Can I ask something, please, for clarification? I have 2 packets here in front of me that start out, 4.1.
Yeah.
One's the, waterfront business residence and the other's a business and industrial
Yeah,
zone.
so one of those is Leslie's markups for,
Are they the same, covering the same, covering the same material?
yes, hers covers 4.1 WVR.
WBR, yeah, okay.
But I want to do some markups for when we get around to it for the map amendments and Paul did too, so.
So this is all having to do with section 4.
Yeah, so the markups by her are for future consideration and then the ones that we have up here are for consideration.
Okay, and which one are we looking at now?
We're looking at section 4, yep,
Not the Leslie one,
not the list.
not the Leslie, okay.
This line won't be bothered, just so you.
Well done. So really, the first thing that you have a change on is 4.1, Charlie, is that your principal uses?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think. Comment here was. Okay. I believe it was all those comments. I think there was no reason for this to be. Anyways. I'll come back with it. So first change that. And this is all per the housing bill, the changes that I marked up there. So we have permitted uses by site plan approval on 4.1C. And then I added the, we can permit by multifamily dwellings containing 3 to 9 units. Because that is, transit community middle housing defined in the, housing bill that got passed.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So, the first change would be permitting multifamily dwellings up to 9 units. This would be the middle housing that the housing bill talks about. And this would be by site plan approval because that's pretty much the highest level of approval that you can go with these middle housing.
I got you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to play along here.
Yeah.
We looked at 4.1C.
Yeah.
You had a highlighted section.
Yeah. And I don't know why I highlighted that, so I'm gonna come back to that if I figure out why I highlighted that.
Okay, it may be because it seems to be comparing 2 zones, but it says the same
Yeah.
name for both zones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe I had to retake a look at the uses and or
So
0.52.
principal use is permitted by site plan.
Yep.
You added multifamily 3 to 9 units.
Yes,
And then on the next page, principal use is by special permit.
Mhm.
Goes to multifamily 10 plus.
yep,
And that's consistent with the new guidance.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's on the house, that's based on the housing.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then we had this highlighted for dimensions for the VR zone. So it's 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit. I don't know if anyone wants to lower that.
Are we gonna talk about this table or wait till we talk about it in the draft? Or the WPR?
This is the time we talk about
Okay,
this one.
So what's the comment there?
So CCOG kind of recommended the basically lowering the density for this, or even taking that out, because it would be, because they said just giving this out, so 10,000 square feet for a 2-family and 45,000 square feet for 9 units. She says, I'm thinking this seems reasonable, a little less certain when combined with the 50% building coverage requirement. So if you have a conforming lot, you basically have a little over 0 or half an acre on which to accommodate 9 units. Of building height is definitely concerning me in relation to this. So we were recommended to maybe look at the building height, and they recommended for us to look at the density.
Yeah, because I think if you look at that comment, the way that, the way she said gamed it out, it would be a problem with the building height, right?
Right.
So this is where we're 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit is, we're tripping over the same problem, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
About we reduced that to 2,000 in the multi-family, right?
Right. So would we want to do the same thing here where we would reduce the square feet per dwelling unit? I think 2,000 was perfect.
5 seems high.
Yeah. I like the 2,000. Well, how about you guys?
Seems to align with the town too, so that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're gaming it out. You need a whole acre for 9 units.
Right. Then this was also a suggested, so for the building height, there is a special permit that allows it to go up to 35 feet. And we can look at dimensions too, if you guys want, but the commission will allow by summary review, so this would be, I also, in section 9, I wrote like kind of what summary review means, and like the administrative procedures for that. So it does have language in there to say by summary review. For an increase of maximum building height for up to a maximum of 35 feet in development of transit community middle housing, which is covered by the Public Act.
Do we need to put transit community middle housing? We need to propose to put that in the reg somewhere so that it's spoken into existence in our.
I believe it's already defined in the in section 2. I can retake a look at that, but yeah. I think I put it in there. And then there was another one Commission may by special permit allow for an increase of maximum building width when doing so will help achieve the purposes, objective design considerations. And yes, we can use the design considerations. I checked on that one. And that says maybe similar language as above. So I don't know if we want to put the same,
I noticed this.
or this is similar language to that, but
The similar part being what?
to
Similar review language.
yeah, by allowing if for a transit community middle housing, we can allow the building width to be, like, we can allow for an increase in the building width.
I guess
That
I
makes sense.
thought the transit community middle housing was as much about parking restrictions as anything else.
Yes, and yeah, so for these types of applications, the parking standards, it would, we couldn't regulate any parking on these if they're under 16 units. And then anything that is under, that is 9 units and under, it cannot have a public hearing, but anything 10 units and under, yes.
All right, I'm just curious about what the purpose is of allowing increase in maximum width
Yeah.
as in encroaching on the setbacks.
Mhm.
Why you allow that in transit community middle housing?
Right, yeah, and I think this is something for the commission to decide. I don't think that this, like, I think if we were to not go with this, it wouldn't violate anything for the housing acts.
No, I guess I'm just asking the question, what's the purpose of allowing the extra width? Is that, I understand design considerations, maybe it's a style thing, but is it in a transit community middle housing district? Is it to allow greater density? Is that?
Yes.
I thought declaring the transit community middle housing district allowed us to take back a little more control over.
That's the conservation traffic mitigation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The transit community middle.
Yeah,
housing
so
to 0
we
to
were
9.
that, so in those zones,
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
those would be regulated, like we would have to abide by the housing bill, parking standards.
Yeah.
And they can submit a parking needs assessment, and if they find that it's less spaces than what the state recommends, then we'd have to go with parking needs assessment.
Got it.
So that's what it is, yeah.
But transit community middle housing is more like mixed use where
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
several units on top of a small commercial.
basically it's buildings that are 2 to 9 units.
Yeah.
Sorry, I confused those two concepts.
I keep getting confused with the 9 units and under and then 16 units and under in the regulatory standards for that, yeah. And then
Well, you know why you get confused, or at least speaking for myself, is because these phrases don't mean anything. You know, these like 4-word chunks of words. Like the one about the workaround on the state law on parking.
yeah,
Wait, what is that 4-word chunk?
right, yeah,
What's that called again? The
conservation traffic mitigation district.
that doesn't mean anything.
To state it does.
Okay, well,
I mean, I think
it means what it's defined to mean, but as words, it doesn't
Yeah.
communicate.
We've had a lot of comments on the naming of these.
wait till it's all acronyms.
Right.
That's why.
And some of them are like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the first one, it makes sense to me that you know, allowing somebody to add 10 feet can go for summary review, but I think building width, it seems like a bigger kettle of fish.
Mhm.
Because you have neighbors, I mean, it's a variance, and so, I don't know. It can impact other things,
So
not that height can't, but.
It wouldn't be
special permit.
a variance, it
Yeah.
would just be allowed in the when these types of applications do come through, like, oh, you're a 2-9 building, and maybe you have a mixed use element to it. There is an allowance in the zone that it can go up to 35 feet, or it can be expanded to where the building would be. But
But again, commission made by special permit, so there's still a
Good.
public
Or
input.
by summary review.
But you
Or,
were
by
saying, you
mayor,
were saying
yes,
about
yes, yes,
changing the
here.
language in two to be like one, so that it could be summary review and not go to. the
Right, oh, yeah, I see, okay. Oh, so I think what it was that maybe a special permit, but, and then this would be. So I think this was added because by summary review, so it wouldn't be by special permit, it would be by the
Summary,
by the statute standards.
right? Which goes to you or whoever the planner is, right?
So this would, so for following this, it would go by site plan approval, so say we do get like an application that's like 2-9 units, we can say, okay, so by summary review, you can go up to 35 feet, it's not a special permit, but it would be just because they are application that is,
Transit community.
yeah,
So you want both cases in one issue. You want it might by special permit if those conditions.
right,
Or by summary review in the case of transit. community.
yeah, so the special permit would apply to stuff that isn't.
Okay, so how do we determine whether the transit community middle housing is in effect on a particular? We just declare that for the whole zone? Is it an
Yeah,
overall?
so that, it's, if you look at section 16, that public act, it says in zones that are for commercial and for mixed use zones, so the, basically all the zones here. Besides the, technology zone and the, forget the other industrial zone.
The residential.
Right, well, so the business residential one, that would count as its own.
Yeah,
mixed use zone.
WBR
Yeah.
and GCR.
Yeah,
So it
by
definitely apply
corridors,
there.
they
Yeah,
would all, these zones, so.
so they are automatically considered transit community.
Yeah.
middle housing.
So whereas in regular residential zones that were in section 3, they wouldn't qualify because it's not a commercial mixed use zone.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if you guys wanna add like a commission will allow by summary review for building width, or if we wanna just leave that out there.
It makes sense if you're doing it for one, then you would do it for the other
Okay.
attribute.
And building width, I believe.
What's the process for summary review?
So if we approved everything by the way it's set up here, it would be basically a site plan approval. We just couldn't make them have a public hearing or a special exception or variance for it.
So
I thought summary review didn't go to the commission.
It doesn't go to a public hearing. It
I
can
thought
go to the
it
commission.
also doesn't have to go to the commission.
No, it can. So it can go to the commission. We just can't say, oh, we feel that this needs a public hearing.
so I
I thought summary review could be approved by the plan.
It can,
Yeah.
yeah, it can. So you can down the line designate it. I mean, you probably have to redo the permitting use tables, but.
I haven't seen the definition, so
Right.
that's why I'm.
that's what I'm saying. I think we should use terminology that we're. Like, this is the first time we've used the term summary review,
Right.
so,
How are we
And
defining it?
we can permit by summary review and have summary review be its own permitted use, like, so we have permitted use by site plan approval, we can say permitted uses by summary review, because I have noticed some people also doing it like that with the regulations.
Could
But
you,
how are we defining it right
could you
now?
give us a basic definition of summary?
Yeah.
Bigger question, is summary review in the list of definitions?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, good,
it's just not in any of our working vocabulary because we haven't been using it.
because it's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I'll show you. Yeah. So it's a review that is able to be approved in accordance with the terms of a zoning regulation or regulations, including but not limited to requirements concerning setbacks, lot size, and building frontage applicable to a proposed development without requiring that a public hearing be held, a variance, special permit, or special exception to be granted, other discretionary zoning action to be taken other than determination that a site plan is in conformance with the applicable zoning regulations, public health and safety will not be substantially impacted. And then I will double check if I did add a transit community middle housing. That way, I can't, I've lost track of the alphabet. It's that.
I review it every morning when I get up.
Yes, I did. Okay, so yeah, transit community middle housing, a residential building containing not less than 2 dwelling units, but not more than 9 such units. But not limited to townhouses, triplexes, perfect sixes, and cottage clusters. And then I also, this would be coming up when we get to this, but I did incorporates. This. So this is like the administration procedure. So this would just be pretty much the same. It's the same language. And then the applicability would be per PA-25-1 application review for transit community middle housing developments in commercial mixed use zones must abide by summary route criteria. The commission may designate the city planner or zoning official review applications or modifications that are eligible for summary review.
So I hate to do this to you, but in the summary review definition, did it say building height?
I don't think so.
I don't think I heard you say that.
No.
I can add building height.
Especially since,
Height, width,
but this specifically refers to building height. And you can
Setbacks,
changed
lot
by
size,
some
building frontage. Yeah. The
yeah,
setback
two we're
lot,
talking about are height and width.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I can do. Or bulk requirements. I could just change all that to bulk requirements. Yeah. I'll make a note of that. So building width would be.
In 4.1.h.
May be modified as provided for in 4.1. Oh. Oh, so yeah, we have it here, but it
It's now
doesn't say
by
like,
special permit.
yeah, it wouldn't say like, it doesn't say what we would allow the increase to, it just says we already allow for increase of maximum building width. I don't know if that's.
I thought you wanted to add the same
Yeah,
red language from 1 to 2.
yeah,
You wanna say that it's like as a matter of right.
Yeah, I was
transit
just looking to see,
community middle
like-
Housing district, like, then it's basically as a matter of
like
right.
how it says up to a maximum of 35 feet. I was looking for up to a maximum of whatever width it was, but it was like, there's none.
Okay, so maybe we don't allow that by summary review.
Because we don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier when they said you don't really know. Yeah.
Yeah, nor do we have a thumb rule for what the new maximum would be.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the least maximum would be, so we'll leave it to a special permit. and-
Or what the lot size, because I mean, it's really, you don't know what the lot size, height is pretty obvious,
Case by
10
case.
foot or not 10 foot, yeah.
But, yeah, so working living requirements, we went over that, section 7. I believe this can be taken out because I did get clarification on that one.
Are we saying that the maximum building height of WBR right now is 25 feet?
That's what it says.
But it can go to 35.
Yeah, by official, or, well, no, like. That's just.
And how do you feel about that, Julie?
I'm just trying to think if there are some buildings we know are existing non-conforming. And 25 seems kind of restrictive, but
Well, I think what we have to keep in mind is in that one seminar we both watched, where in, I think it was Minnesota, they did the entire downtown with just 2 stories. And nobody applied for anything because it was, you're not gonna get a return on your investment if you're only building 2 stories.
Oh, so I can see why they wrote except for transit commutes.
Yeah.
So there's parking. Like it says, additional considerations shall include the extent to which it can fit. So I think that extent to which, yeah. So I think this, for a middle housing application, we couldn't consider the views. I don't think that we could consider the water views at all, or definitely the parking we can't consider. So that's why I believe that was there.
So why are you taking away that cross out?
Because I originally crossed it out because I thought that we didn't need it, and then
Okay, all right.
So are we gonna go back to the 25 feet?
I think we moved it past that part. I think that we kept it as 35 feet by special permit and then by summary review. So if it was a middle housing project, then it could be by 35 feet too.
So what about just, to be devil's advocate, right now, the WBR has like a 20-foot setback from the Thames River for the rear yard setback, which, and I'm just saying this because we listened to this presentation on June 3rd for,
Downtown Main Street.
doing something about downtown Thames Street.
Yeah.
Like, is that sufficient to accommodate the city's objective of having some type of boardwalk or promenade or whatever it is along the river? I'm just asking, like, just out of curiosity.
I think that would just go through deep instead of us.
No, but if people have a if you have a 20-foot setback, like, does that leave enough room? I'm just curious, like.
From the
Well, we
river,
would-
yeah.
We would have to be,
Or at the mean height.
it would be different than sidewalk on the street side. In terms of what the city could do,
Yeah,
you would be literally going through people's backyards along the river. I don't know what the lot setback, if there's any lot setback, what that looks like. I don't think there is, right? It's the high water.
it says
mark
20
is fine.
feet from the high water, mean high water level.
Oh, okay, 20 feet from
Yeah.
there, okay.
20 feet back from the mean. Anyway, I'm just asking it, like, just generally speaking,
I see.
because we talked about it a couple weeks ago. They talked about docks and marinas and this and that, and I just was
Yeah.
wondering, like, is there enough room to do all that?
So for the 5 corner zone, 4.2.c, I wrote up to 9 dwelling units permitted by site plan approval. Then I also add the permitted use for a 2-family dwelling and then multifamily dwelling, mixed use buildings, okay. That makes sense. So this one will be for multifamily dwellings, staying 39 units, and then 2-family dwellings, and then mixed use buildings that contain a combination up to 9 dwelling units.
Yeah, by site plan.
Yep. And then for special, and I believe we all talked about crossing out and site plan approval. When it says special permit, just to avoid any confusion.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to go. Thank you for the
Yeah.
meeting.
Thanks for coming.
Thankfully,
Thanks. Bye.
And then, so for this, it'd be containing 10 plus dwelling units. For a special permit, and that would be multifamily buildings.
I have something on 42H. Something about, I don't know, this is a note I wrote to myself, add in the WBR after the reference to transit community middle housing, but I don't know why I wrote that.
So this I'm adding in right now because I answered my own question back there about the design considerations.
Oh, and 2, FCD is wrong.
FC,
No, 42H.
42H,
Where you were, C number 2. Because everywhere it says FCD, you've been changing it to 5 corners zone.
oh,
I
I'll just
assume
change it to
that's what
FC.
you're doing, right? Yeah.
it's just C.
And then I wrote, there's something about.
All right, I think we ought to cut it off here. We can, because
Above to-
Yeah, I think the only thing left in this is, for the industrial zones, to avoid the kind of confusing framework of us being able to permit the, multifamily, or the transit community middle housing. It says other use similar to permitted use or uses. I believe there is one tidbit in here where. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that one.
Since we did so well with 3 and 7, maybe starting a quick run through of 4 next time we.
Yeah.
I had a specific question a little far down the line on 4.6.f on dimensional standards. We'd be jumping ahead, but it's a question I have.
Yeah, if you're at, sorry if I didn't hear correctly, if you're at section 6, we are definitely jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, does that wait till next time?
Yes. But
She said 4.6.
Oh,
I said 4.6.f. It's about, the question is about the minimum height being 2 stories.
Yeah.
That's, it is jumping ahead, but,
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
the regulations that we passed last year.
And then the other thing was in these industrial zones, yeah, so it does say permitted mixed use buildings allow dwelling units, with a principal use. I was just recommended by CCOG to maybe take a look at those. I don't know if you guys want to permit mixed use buildings, like transit community middle housing in industrial zones, you can. But that was just something that I was asked to take a look at and.
Yeah, let's take a look at that next time, because
Yeah.
I think we have existing
Right,
properties like that.
right,
so are we gonna pick up from here on the next meeting?
yes.
Cause I have a question about dimensional standards.
Yeah, so I'll do a run through on section 4 next time and then we can just focus on that.
but I think we wanna keep a little time here for the executive session, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pause the recording, but Paul's obviously gonna stay on here so that way we can talk
Yeah,
in
but
executive.
So I hope that we go executive session to discuss the ongoing legislation, or ongoing litigation regarding, zoning regulations.
Second.
And a motion from Mr. Russ, is there a second, go into executive session?
Second,
Marty. So, motion from Mr. Rusk and a second from, was that Sue?
yes.
All right, second from Sue, go into executive session. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So the motion to go into executive session is approved 6-0-0. Is that correct?
Correct.
6-0-0. All right, we are now out of executive session at 9:34.
What time did we go in?
9:22.
22?
I don't.
Maybe a little.
I was asking, did you write down what time we went into executive session, Paul?
The
I did
time
not.
that wording.
That's the idea.
Yeah, 9:25.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's like 9:60.
Yeah, it was
18.
Barely after Colleen left, so.
All right, anything else we need to talk about tonight? Discussion items? We had a quorum at the Connecticut Main Street presentation, which was interesting. Good. If not, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by
Mary.
Mary, second by Bob.
Yep.
All of them?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned at 9:36. All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate all
Thanks,
the
Paul.
hard work. Thanks for hanging in there.